If you are a director in a large and complex organization and your next goal is to be promoted to the vice president, this video is for you. We have all been there. Someone with less experience and not as competent as you gets promoted before you. And the worst part is that they have spent even less time at your company, or perhaps your president hired a vice president from outside for the role you have been hoping and working to get for years or months. This can happen at every level of a company, but one of the hardest promotion to achieve is from director to vice president, from middle management to senior executive. The most difficult part of my career was moving from middle management to senior executive, from director to vice president. It took me 8 years before I was promoted to the vice president at one of the Fortune 500 companies with over 100,000 employees globally. In this video, I want to share with you why that is, and more importantly, what it takes to become a vice president. Here's a quote from the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. At the higher levels of organizational life, all the leading players are technically skilled. Your people skill, or lack of them, become more pronounced the higher you go. People skills are not just about how well liked you are. You may be a very collaborative person and have great relationships with your colleagues, but that does not mean you will get promoted to the executive level. People skills at this level is about how gracefully you handle pressure, how you manage stakeholders, and how you make people feel during difficult conversations while still achieving results. At the vice president level, you need to be able to create the strategy, vision for your function or the business, leading leaders, leading a business, managing expectations up, down, and cross. Plus, you need to deliver the result, and you need to manage stakeholders across all levels in your organization. When I became the vice president, about half or even more of my time was spent in managing stakeholders, politics, big personalities, influence decisions. Meanwhile, the directors on my team, they focus on delivering outcomes, hitting the KPIs, and implementing the strategies. As you progress in the organization and move up the ladder, your communication skills, your leadership presence, they are under scrutiny. I've worked with 9 presidents at 2 largest companies in Sweden by market cap. No matter they are president from regional level all the way to the global headquarter level, their behaviors, words, especially flaws, are magnified. The weakness you could get away with as a manager or director can be detrimental once you are in these top positions. The reason for this is clear. Your communication and behavior will now impact a large number of people, not just your team, but external stakeholders like customers, investors, media, business partners, especially during times of uncertainties and organizational change. When companies are going through challenging periods like downturn, business underperforming, employee will analyze everything you say, everything you do, how you say it, and even how you look like after a management meeting. There are consequences to even the slightest shift in your attitude. Every communication from you matters because it is your main tool for making things happen now, through people, through teams. I worked at a cyclical industry, and during one of the downturns, I was with a group of operations executives to plan factory visits around the world. At that time, we were clearly facing an overcapacity issue. For every factory we visited, there was a fear of closure or major downsizing or layoff. Some factories were more worried than the others, depending on where they are and what product they were manufacturing. During these site visits, employees closely observe and interpret the movements and meetings of the SVP of operations. I remembered our employees were complaining that he spent too much time with the management team and not spending enough time talking with the people on the site. Some others were complaining that he walked too fast and he didn't stop to talk with the people, and he should have randomly picked a table to have lunch and not just sit with the executive team. At these higher levels, your ability to communicate, motivate, and inspire becomes more critical than ever, especially in the negative business environment. Even if you just had a bad day, or you got some negative feedbacks from the board, how you communicate and present yourself will significantly impact the success of your organization. Many directors and managers get this feedback during their performance reviews, indicating that they need to develop executive presence. They often have no clue what executive presence actually is. Even more interesting is that the person advising them to develop it often cannot explain it either. They would tell them, you will know when you see it. Wow, super actionable, right? To many people, executive presence seems magical and invisible, but it somehow communicates to everyone that you are a leader. And the worst thing you could do to yourself is to believe that Some people are just naturally born with it, while others, like myself, are not. What I can share with you here is not only from my own experience, but also from helping many of my clients achieving this goal, is that executive presence is a skill, and it can be developed and practiced. It is absolutely not something you are born with naturally. Rule number 1 is don't look overwhelmed. Looking overwhelmed means that you come across as overly stressed or somewhat worried, and this is an executive presence killer. I have seen this especially in many of my Asian clients and colleagues, including myself. When we are listening, when we are focused, or when we try to concentrate, the look on our face can appear to be confused, overwhelmed, or lost. But in reality, we are just trying to concentrate. I often do this to myself, and I often ask my clients to look at themselves in the video recordings. No matter what level you are, you should pay attention to how you look. Even just from your facial expressions, when you are promoted to the executive level, you really cannot afford to appear frazzled because it can unsettle other people. C-suite executives need to communicate with calm and poise. They are present, their attention is not scattered. When they are listening, they make you feel important because they give you their full attention. They make you feel understood. They ask you good questions, and they provide you with a safe environment for you to speak up. They do not let their mental noise or pressure from the top or a bad quarter distract them. They walk into meetings ready to listen. They ask good questions. They are inclusive. They are able to make decisions with calmness and confidence. This not only benefits themselves, but also this gives the team a reassurance of the strategy they set, the direction they choose to take, and the investment they choose to make. Number 2 about executive presence is knowing your self-worth. You need to have a sense of being worthy, your self-validation. As you climb to the top of the ladder, there are few leaders above you who can validate you and your ideas. In some cases, there may be no one to provide this validation. It's rather lonely at the top. I have seen many directors and managers, they try very hard to please others. They almost need external validation to feel valued. This can cause them to lose their own sense of self-worth. Remember, the self-worth radiates from within. It is not the same as confidence. It is also not arrogance. It is your own sense of being worthy, of understanding why you are at the table, why you are representing your function in a cross-functional executive team. I often see this happening in support functions like IT, legal, or human resources, sometimes even supply chain and manufacturing. When leaders from these functions are in the room, it often feels like they are less important because they believe that marketing, finance, or sales have stronger voice in cross-functional teams. So they feel undervalued. They feel their role is just to execute decisions made by the others. They are not part of the decision-making process. This is a lack of self-worth, and it can be detrimental, especially in senior executive positions. You represent your team in a cross-functional leadership teams. There is a reason for you to be there. For example, I used to work in communications, which is not always seem to be the most business critical function. For a very long time, I didn't see myself as worthy of being there. I feel that if I miss a meeting, no one would even notice. This was a lack of self-worth, and I've shared how I overcame it in another video you might want to watch. Now, if you feel this way, think about how your team would feel if you become the vice president leading a manufacturing site, for example, or if you become the CTO leading a team of 2,000 to 3,000 engineers. If you being their leader does not see your own worth, does not see your own function's worth, how can you lead? Number 3 is communicating with intention. This is not about making more effort or putting more time and work into it. It is not about trying harder. Intention is very different from effort. I often see managers and directors put a lot of effort in getting the data right, building the right business case, structuring their logic, or telling the right story. At an executive level, communication focuses on resonating. And this is the difference between watching an amateur playing golf on the weekends and a champion like Tiger Woods. The amateur does not have the skills to win at the same level, no matter how hard they try, no matter how many hours they spend in practicing, or how positive their attitude is. High-level communication resonates, inspires, and influences people's mind. This is true leadership communication. On the other hand of this is what we sometimes see managers and directors. They communicate with uncertainty, doubt, and indecision. They don't fully believe in what they are advocating or what they are working on. For example, when I was the VP of Marketing and Communication, I was leading a team of directors. Sometimes the directors would come to me and asking for budget approval. They would propose an idea and say, this campaign would cost us $100,000. I think it would increase our sales revenue and help the dealers get visibilities and support them in selling. But it is not a must that we have to spend this much. If you think it is too much, maybe we can work on something similar ourselves or spend less. Now that I pointed out, you can see that they have so many uncertainties when they ask for what they want. Just by listening their words, they have already decided that this may or may not work. So it may or may not be important to get the full investment they wanted for their project. True executive presence requires you to make unwavering decisions about a mission, a strategy, and not allowing yourself to be swayed. This includes saying firmly that this is going to work without doubt. This is not about stubbornness, aggressiveness, or force. Communicate with intention means none of this. People with high intention are capable of extremely empathetic and warm communication and respectful listening. No one can diminish your intention but you. No one can increase your intention but you. Your degree of intention has nothing to do with your circumstances, the economy, and the setbacks. Most people do not fully realize how important this is. They do not realize that they did not succeed simply because they lacked intention. They do not realize that they have not made the decision that there's no other way but to succeed. These people will win and succeed no matter what the circumstances are. And that's why they are leaders. They have followers. People follow them. People follow their vision. People believe in their words. Next is your ability to make deep human connection. Your ability to make deep human connection with anyone determines how much trust you will earn. There's a world of difference between just talking and truly connecting. And this difference can make or break your career at a senior executive level. Now, getting others to open up, knowing when to ask questions, when to listen, when to speak, what topics to discuss, all play a super important role in this. One of the directors shared with me, I have monthly meetings with our SVP. I definitely have the visibility and exposure to the higher management, but I'm not getting promoted to the vice president. Even when my boss, the vice president, left, I was not even considered for that interim position. What's that? So obviously the problem here is not about visibility. Maybe you have the opportunity to interact with those who have the decision-making power to appoint the next vice president. But what truly matters is your ability to form a deeper connection with them. The biggest mistake many directors make is they assume that the amount of time spent with the executive, the number of interactions they've had, or their performance will automatically lead to that next level promotion to the top. The problem is that this is a surface level interaction. There's a huge difference between interaction and establishing meaningful connections that would build trust and instill belief in you. It's quite impossible to provide a generic advice here that fits every situation because each of you has a unique case. When we work together with members in my coaching program, we develop customized structure, even script that fits your specific working environment, stakeholders, your background, and with your personal brand. And these customized strategies will help you to turn networking meetings into job interviews, turn conversations with the senior leadership into job promotions. Now, if you are interested in getting personalized coaching tailored to your needs, I'd encourage you to book a free strategy call with either myself or my team. During the call, we're going to evaluate whether we're a good fit to work together. Go to inspiremyday.org/apply or click the link in the description below and you can book the call from there. For now, I will leave you with this video to find out how to have a successful skip level meeting with the manager of your manager. I'll see you there.